All right, shalom. So, so you've probably seen. How do I get this to hunt? Okay, so you've probably seen this image before, and maybe you're trying to understand what's going on here. But I borrowed this graphic from the Covenant Calendar Club group because I think it illustrates what's going on pretty good. But the sun is at different positions at different times of year, or it appears to be in the sky. And if you have an object like a sundial, some stick coming out of the ground, it doesn't have to be at this angle like this, but some object where the sun will hit it and cast a shadow. If you track points over the course of the day as the sun is traveling across the sky east to west, that tip of the shadow will move, and you can mark like at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and you go all day, and you'll see this curve shape. And depending on the time of year, you're going to see three different shapes. You're going to see a curve like this in the summer, and then around the equinox, you're going to see this straight line, and then in the shortest time of year, that you're going to see this flipped line. But I mean, the days leading up to the longest day of the year and the shortest day of the year, you're going to see this similar curved pattern. And then when it gets to the very middle here, it flips. It hits this straight line path, and then it flips to an opposite curve. So I just want to show you again. So you're collecting data like maybe every hour throughout the course of the day, and one of these X's represents the tip of your sundial, and you're just going to see three patterns like this. And just to give you an idea, this, don't ask me how or why, but this does actually happen in the heavens. And if you're familiar with star trails, this is unique. They just have a camera that's looking up at the stars at night, taking like time lapse pictures or pictures every 5 seconds or something, and they create these star trail images. And this is a unique image that shows you these paths of heaven. And so we see the three patterns that we just saw with the sundial. We see the stars are curving one way on one side of this line right up the middle. Of course, we see this line up the middle, and then we see an opposite. You can see opposite curves are happening on this side. This is a special photo. I don't think you can see this everywhere in the world, but this is near the equator. And near the equator, you can see all three of these patterns at once. And this line up the middle is the celestial equator. It's the center line of heaven. And for reference, if you're ever curious to know where that was, it's very near the top star of Orion's belt. I want to pull up Stellarium just to give you an idea of what's going on here. This can get a little tricky. The software is not perfect, but let's see if I can show you here. So I am going to, this is plugged in for Quinto, Ecuador, near the equator, because I want to show you that same pattern. So I'm going to, let's see here, we got our south is down here. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the sun in the sky. Things get weird in Solarium, but that's supposed to be a flat horizon. Once you start to zoom out, it starts to do weird things. Watch out for computer programming and stuff. But like I said, like this is going to kind of show the same thing. It's going to show those three patterns, but I mean this bears out, and people with sundials have been collecting data for years and years, and they really do see these three patterns. They see these three curves depending on the time of year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these equatorial grid lines, and so these ones that look like the rainbow are the key ones to look for. And as I pull it down, I'm going to zoom out a little more. There. I'm going to make the ground disappear too. Well, maybe not yet. But you see this 0 right here? This is the center line of heaven. This is the celestial equator. This is the path. As I pull this down, you're going to see this straighten out, maybe. Kind of weird again, but if I can get my bearings right. Look at that. Oh, oh. So now we're essentially looking, well, in stellarium anyway, standing on the equator. We're looking straight up in the sky. Oops. I'm gonna make that go away. Go away. Oh no. Don't ruin my video. Okay, I'm not an expert with, wow. I'm not an expert with how to get this thing to turn off. Hitting escape, but it's not escaping. It's just like the enemy to try and distract us here. I do apologize. I used to. I'm very thankful at the moment to have a computer that is actually powerful enough to run Stellarium. Like I used to, for the past like 4 years, I've had a pretty rough time. Um, my computers have not been powerful enough to run Stellarium, so I've not been able to like work with it and do videos like this or any study. But I mean, I used to mess with Stellarium a fair bit, but I forget how to. It's been so long, I forget how to turn this stuff off. So I might have to. I'm hitting escape. I feel like maybe it was over on the side. Oh my goodness. Wow. How do I make the words just... Ah, there. Right click. How about that? Sorry about that. Maybe I'll just cut that out of the video. Okay, so what am I looking for? So yes, you can see how and I think I lost my cardinal points here. Cardinal points are gone. But I think south was down here. South, we were looking south down there. Okay, so I'm just looking, I was looking south and now I'm looking straight up in the sky. And you can see, what do we see? Look at these three curve patterns. You see the straight line right up the middle. You see curves one way up above, and you see curves down below a different way. And again, you can see Orion right here, the three stars of Orion, and the top star of Orion is right, pretty much right on that celestial equator. Let's see if we can get, oh, well, there's the name Orion. Where is Orion? Ah, there's Orion. See? Okay. So anyway, I want to show you, here's the sun. Now, in North America, we're looking at the sun coming from down south. It was way down south in the wintertime, and now it's climbing higher and higher in the sky, and here it is. And it's getting, I have the date way ahead here. But you can see, as I go back, what's to today's date? Right, the 24th. So the sun's way down here. For the equinox, we're looking for the sun to get up to the celestial equator. And so, and the thing with this software that we'll get into maybe right after this is you got to be careful about this kind of software and even the data that NASA spits out, because they're going to tell you that the sun is going to like hit the celestial equator in a moment of time and cross over, and then just keep progressing up this way. But I think what we're seeing in reality is the sun actually hits the celestial equator, but then it rides the celestial equator and it rises perfectly due east and perfectly due west for a 24-hour period, so that everyone on Earth has a daylight opportunity to see the sun rising perfectly due east and setting perfectly due west. It's really quite an amazing design and something that kind of flies in the face of modern science. But anyway, so we're looking to see the sun approach to the celestial equator, that middle line of heaven. And so as I advance the dates, we're getting closer. You see how the sun's getting closer, getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. And right around the 19th or the 20th. It looks like it must have crossed over somewhere between the 19th and the 20th. And again, I might do another video. You've probably maybe seen other videos, but you can actually zoom in on like this calculated data. You can get real close. I think, yeah, you can click on the coordinates of the sun and you can find out exactly when the sun hits exactly when it hits this zero grid line. But we're not going to do that right now. But they have it as a moment of time. But the unique thing is it seems to actually hit this line and then hold its course on this line for an entire day. And you know the unique thing, that's why you see the straight line if you've heard about it with the sundial, because it's, you know, the sun is rising perfectly due east and setting perfectly due west, and it travels that path for an entire day, daylight portion of a day for everyone on Earth, which is approximately 24 hours, maybe even a little more actually. It needs to hold that pattern. It needs to hold that path on the celestial equator for everyone to see the straight line. You see, if the sun, like like modern science has the sun like crossing over the equator, just on the diagonal, quickly advancing, like it just crosses over it at some point. But if it did that, then what we would expect to see with our sundials is we would actually expect to see an S. So if the sun was following this curve, and then at the moment it crossed the celestial equator, just a moment, then it would jump and switch to this curve, and it would then progress on this curve. And you would actually see an S. And I've never seen that in years and years of many truth seekers collecting sundial data around the world. I've never seen anybody get an S. Like they always get the straight line. So that means that the sun was on this curved pattern, and then it takes a day and it does this straight line pattern, and then on the next day it does this curve. But it's just an interesting thing to watch out for modern science. So now I wanted to really quickly show you one more thing about stellarium in motion. Now this is going to get really weird, but I want to show you the same thing that you see in this picture with the star trails. Where is it? This one. So again, I picked a location in stellarium that is right near the equator, so we can see both of these patterns when we look straight up in the sky. So I'm going to zoom way out. Oh, and now I'm going to make the ground disappear. The ground is gone. So now, look, this gets really funky, but but there's essentially, you could think of this as like, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like a DVD or a record on one side of the equator, and the North Star is like in the middle of that record, and then there's another record in the south, and like I don't know what that is, the Southern Cross or something, but there's something near the middle of that disc, and there's just a disc of stars spinning, or tracks in the heavens. Things are spinning over here, and things are spinning over here. That's the way it appears from Earth. So I'm not going to get into the discussion of exactly how or why, but that's what we apparently appear to see. And the majority of these star trail images that you see online are going to typically show you just one circle, because most of the places around the world are either far north or far south of the equator, and so you'll typically only see one circle. But this one's unique. It's near the equator, and they were actually able to see both of these patterns, all three of these patterns. So I'm going to show you that. So here, with nothing moving, you can see there's one of those circles up here. There's N, so the North Star is like right around there somewhere, and then down here, I know this is a really weird way to look at it, but that's essentially, I don't know how it's happening, but that's why we see the patterns we do with the sundials, because there's this disc up here of things spinning, and there's this disc down here spinning. That's what it seems to be doing. So let's speed it up. Ooh. Whoa. Okay. Now you see those wheels spinning? It got all kinds of weird things going on with its calculations, but like that's what the stars are essentially doing. However they're doing it, everything's on a track, and there's a disc north of the equator, celestial equator that's spinning, and there's another disk south of the celestial equator that seems to be spinning, and the sun just jumps on these different tracks of like the records, these records of heaven, these tracks of heaven. Um, so, yeah, I don't know. I hope that helps you understand what's going on there. But yeah, it's really quite simple. I mean, it's amazing, but actually, I guess it's not simple, but it is amazing, and but that's what's going on. Equinox, I think that's Latin for equal night, and it's when the sun is it's just cutting that perfect line through the sky, due east and due west, and it's just amazing. You see the sun traveling on some of these lines that you see are just stars. Like they took a picture every 5 minutes or something, and it's a star trail. It's just showing you the tracks of the stars, kind of making the lines. And there must be a whole cluster of them here, right at the middle. That I know at least Orion's belt is around there somewhere, and I don't know if this was. Yeah, it looks like it's not completely dark yet when they took this picture, but I don't think that is the path of the sun. I think that's just where both of these circles kind of come together, however that works. But yeah, amazing. So for the upcoming Equinox event, we're just looking for the sun's going to be jumping on these tracks, and eventually it's going to get to this straight line, and it holds that straight line path for a solid day. It's amazing, and then it'll flip to the opposite curve, and it does that. Like I said, I've been doing it for years, and a number of truth seekers around the world have been doing it for years, and that's what we see. There's a day where you see one curve, and then there's a day where you see a straight line, and then the next day you see a flipped curve. And so that's what we're going to be looking for. Stay tuned. I will be posting updates to the YouTube channel, Faith Child, with people's sundial data as they collect it for this upcoming seasonal transition. And there's also the Facebook group. Confirming the solar tracking observations confirming the creator's time via Genesis 1:14. And I try to post live feeds of everyone's sundial data as they collect it. So please stay tuned for that, and feel free to reach out and let me know if you want to join in on the sundial effort, and we can confirm when the straight line pattern is seen around the world. So shalom, and may Allah bless you as you continue to seek His truth and love with a pure heart.